So, button eyes, huh? Greetings and salutations, my bewitching magicians. I'm Water Witch, and I, like many of you, have had a movie scare me as a kid. We've all been there. We've snuck down to the living room and caught a glimpse of a movie our parents warned us about, or let a questionable choice in an animated flick take hold of our overactive imaginations. And we've all had sleepless nights where we lie awake in bed waiting for that week's monster to come claim us and take us to our untimely demise. Yeah, I've definitely been there. Though, believe it or not, only with one movie in particular. Growing up, my parents exposed me to a lot of media that was unconventional, to say the least. This little hunbun was jamming out to Voltaire with her parents in the car and watching Beetlejuice. My family's pretty much Adams 2.0, so it was honestly no surprise to me that the movie that gave me nightmares for over a year ended up being what is now my favorite movie of all time. Shocking, I know, but that's what I'm here to talk about today. Because it's the season of spoops, I thought it would be fun to dive into this spooky flick and discuss how my initial reactions to it as a kid differ now that I'm an adult, and discuss why I have such an unhealthy obsession with it as a whole. Keep in mind, though, this isn't a full analysis, as I don't think I could contribute any more than what's been contributed already. If you want something like that, though, I'll leave a link to a really good video below by a dude named Positively Dreadful. He makes a lot of good points, is really funny, and I highly recommend his work, especially since I won't be going over the plot and just diving straight into my thoughts. So either watch his video or rewatch the movie yourself if you need a refresher. Okay? Okay. So without further ado, let's dive into the crux of my unhealthy obsession with Coraline. The first time I ever even heard of Coraline was the winter before the movie was released. It was the winter solstice, and one of my gifts from my mom was a copy of the book by Neil Gaiman, and a promise that we'd be sure to see the film once it's released. Considering I was raised on creepy stop-motion claymation films, I didn't think much of it at first, and was just excited to have a new book to read. I was a pretty nerdy 8-year-old. However, let's just say the book left a lasting impression. The story itself wasn't exactly that jarring, being targeted to kids and all, but the pictures? Eesh. Nightmare fuel. There was one picture in particular that I always had to cover with my hand when I came to it because of how uncomfortable it made me feel. Still makes me cringe to this day. Like, just look at it. Even so, it was a book I finished very easily, and I pretty much forgot about it after a week because of my goldfish-like memory. Not a big deal, right? A few months later, though, when my family sat down to watch the movie together, let's just say that it wasn't anything like I had thought it would be. I expected it to be another whimsical but spoopy film like The Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride. But I was wrong. Very wrong. I remember times when I clung to someone's arm in fear or yelped at jump scares or began to feel anxious when certain music played. I try not to show it too much, of course, but that movie creeped me out. Big time. Mainly because of the other mother. She was just so creepily animated and had such uncomfortable mannerisms. And that face! Ugh! That face stood out to me even after the film ended, and even more so when I closed my eyes that night. Because that's where the nightmares began. What followed the next few months was a series of bad dreams that repeated over and over. 3 to be precise. Little to no changes to them either, just the same 3 nightmares over and over. The first one happened the night after I watched the movie. The details are a bit hazy to me now, but the basic gist of it is that I was hiding throughout the other Pink Palace Hello Neighbor style and had the other mother's face keep getting dangerously close to mine whenever she found me. In each repetition of the dream, it was always a different place she'd find me, but she always did find me. Guess I'm no better at hide and seek in my dreams than I am in real life. The second dream is when things started getting a little more creepy, because the other mother started showing up in real life. In this particular dream, I would wake up in the middle of the night and walk out to get a glass of water from the kitchen. However, at the time my bedroom was right across from the living room, and in it I would see the other mother just chilling on the couch. Freaked out, I would usually turn tail and go straight back into my room and shut the door while looking for something to attack with. As you do. And I felt safe for a little bit, until I would realize I forgot to lock the door. Yeah, you can probably figure out what happens next. As creepy as those dreams were, it was nothing compared to the last one. So, when I was younger, I had what I called a specific genre of dream, where when I wake up from a nightmare, in this case one of the other two, I would wake up to this pounding in my head and see the center focus of the nightmare watching me just inches from my face. And in the case of the Coraline nightmares, I would always wake up to this. Yeah, I had that dream a lot. And it kinda kept me from ever wanting to watch the movie or touch the book. Ever again. I spent a pretty long period of my life with the book buried in the back of my bookshelf and pretty much diving under my blankets whenever a relative wanted to watch the movie again. It wasn't until I was a little older that I finally worked up the courage to watch it again. And when I think, well... Shawnee, I want to dye my hair blue like Coraline's! After the nightmares ended and I matured a bit, I was able to see the movie and the story in general in a whole new light. Instead of seeing the characters as weird and creepy, I saw them as well written and voiced wonderfully. Instead of the animation being scary, I saw the hard work that was put behind it to make it so. I was able to compare how the story was told between the book and the movie and gained a better appreciation with what was left in, added, or taken out when adapted to film. I began to admire how the story was paced, the timing of each scare, how eerie the other mother was from the beginning, and how Coraline grew as a character throughout the film. It was this movie that started my habit of looking at other movies with a more critical eye, and it helped me better appreciate the animation genre in a way that I never knew before. After that second viewing left me so satisfied, I dove head first into my newfound obsession. I read the book and watched the movie non-stop, and borrowed the graphic novel in my middle school library so much that they had to tell me to stop checking it out for a while so other kids could read it. I entertained the idea of creating my own ragdoll copy like the one in the movie, and became hooked on the Wii game that a relative gave me. It got to the point where I could navigate through the map with my eyes closed. Literally! One time when I was playing, my older brother came up and covered my eyes, and I still made it to where I needed to go with little to no trouble. It was then we all knew I had a problem, and it was awesome. I would just fangirl about a whole bunch of different stuff in the movie, from the animation, to the stories, to how the characters looked, to the point where my family would have to tell me to shut my trap whenever we watched it because all I would do was talk. Oh god, I'm such a nerd. Whenever I talk about this movie with others, they find it hard to understand why I love it so much if it scared me like it did. You would think that because it gave me such traumatic nightmares, I wouldn't love it this much. But I think it's because it creeped me out so much that I began to love it. This story was able to invoke emotion in me in a way no other film could, because I honestly felt sympathy for Coraline and her plight. The way she was portrayed was so genuinely kid that as a kid myself, I connected with her. So when other characters like the other mother tried to lead her into a false sense of security through the gift she gave, I was screaming at the screen and at my book for Coraline to run. Because I honestly didn't want her, a fictional character, to have to go through such a horrible ordeal. The characters in this story feel very organic, with their own motivations and personalities that feel real even when they aren't in the spotlight. I think that the reason I love this story so much is because even though it's an impossible situation that could never happen in real life, it portrays and captures the atmosphere and emotions of what it would be like if it actually happened. I honestly fear the antagonist, I want to save our protagonist, I get annoyed with the people around her for allowing such a thing to happen, and feel relief when everything works out in the end. This story just sucks me in to the point where I feel as if I'm there, with its glorious animation and amazing build-up of atmosphere and theme. It truly is a cautionary tale about finding happiness with what you have, and not putting trust in strangers that are more than a little suspicious, because more often than not, they don't always have your best interests at heart. And it's really important to be able to identify that so you don't get yourself in more trouble than you already have. It's a tale that's good for kids and even some adults, and it's demonstrated exceptionally well. I could be hyping the story too much and seeing things in it that don't really exist, but it's at least how I view it. And it's what keeps me coming back to the movie again and again, even when it isn't the spoopy time of year, because the fact that it did scare me made me question why. And in the journey to find the answer, I found there was something to truly admire about the craftsmanship and hard work that went into the story, and how it all amounted to something really and truly special. So yeah, that's why I have an unhealthy obsession with Coraline. If you want me to explain why I love anything else that you know I'm obsessed with, then leave suggestions below. I hope to make this into a series, so consider this a Halloween special / pilot. Hope you all have a happy Halloween, and I'll see y'all next time. Laters, every peoples!